The story. Do you trust the police with weapons? Police in Lancashire apologising for using a taser on a blind man after officers mistook his white cane for a samurai sword. I've just got to take one step back from this story. How on earth do you confuse a white cane for a samurai sword? It was in broad daylight, this. Officers responding to a number of reports that a man was walking through Chorley armed with a samurai sword when they confronted Colin Farmer, who was on his way to meet friends in a pub last Friday. This is Colin.
I dropped to the floor with my cane, and I was shouting all the time, I'm blind, I'm blind. There was no warning by the police. They didn't show themselves. I didn't think they were police. I thought they were thugs about to mug me.
The case has been referred to the Independent Police Complaints Commission. The Police Federation wants all officers to be issued with tasers. Has this news story made you change your mind about whether all bobbies should have tasers? I'd love to hear from you today. 08453 00 9956. Do you think it would help protect the streets and themselves as police officers, or are you uncomfortable with the idea? Would it change the landscape, the feel of this country? Maybe there would be other instances of 61-year-old blind men with their white canes being tasered because they've been mistaken for thugs with swords. 08453 00 9956. Richard Taylor campaigns against giving tasers to police officers who don't have firearms training. He's on the line. Richard, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Danny.
Your response to this 61-year-old guy being tasered, Rich?
Well, I'm just worried that if we did have more police on the front line armed with taser, then this kind of terrible mistake that's happened will be happening more and more often. We'll be seeing disproportionate force being used by the police on more and more occasions, and as we can hear from your callers, this is doing some real damage to the reputation of the police across the UK, and in the UK we rely on having a good relationship between the police and the public, so that we can have what is often an incredibly thin blue line, and if we're going to maintain that, we can't shift towards policing by force. And I think if all police officers were armed with taser, we'd create a real divide, much more so than we've got now, but between the public and the police, and it would just be much harder to police this country.
Well, Richard, nevertheless, let's look at it from the police's perspective. This guy, gung-ho, testosterone-fueled. We'll find out in the coming days and weeks because there will be an inquiry. Let's just look at the other dangerous situations that our brave police force, the men and the women, find themselves on a daily basis where a taser could actually save their life. Maybe we should just put this one minor, in inverted commas, indiscretion to one side and look at the bigger picture, Richard.
Well, I think the bigger picture is what I'm trying to look at, and look at how the public perceive the police, which is important. The police view is important, but this is a question for wider society. It'll eventually be, it'll soon be a question for incoming police and crime commissioners. How will the frontline police be equipped, and will they have these weapons? And I would rather see them restricted to the highly trained firearms units who have regular experience of having to make the kind of decision of whether or what level of force is proportionate.
Yeah, but Richard, I was going to say, what about if a young Bobby's chasing a heroin-fuelled burglar down an alleyway, he turns round on the Bobby and pulls out a knife? Now, surely we need to put our trust in the cops to use these tasers effectively and in a proportionate manner. Then surely that's going to protect and save that young Bobby's life. Well, you can't call in an armed cop when you're chasing a smackhead down an alleyway, Rich.
You can't, and part of the problem here is that one of the reasons we've got more officers being armed with taser is with police cuts. The armed officers are often further away, and they take longer to arrive. But I just don't think that we should. That we should change the nature of policing in this country in this way by arming all frontline officers with taser. We have to, like in this case, we need to wait for the investigation. But it sounds as if they didn't really try talking first, and they've reached straight for the taser. So that's the kind of change in policing that I don't want to see. We need to sort of make sure the force used is proportionate and it's sort of being escalated appropriately. You're starting by just trying to talk to someone.
Do you know, Richard, OK, I've put the police's side to you and you've responded. Let's just take a little look. I'm just trying to play out in my mind, in my mind's eye, what would have happened. Now, they've had a report of a guy wielding a samurai knife through the streets of Chorley. So that is a dangerous situation. So the police have spotted this 61-year-old guy.
So they should call in the armed police.
I mean, The thing is, if the Bobbies if they think genuinely that it is a guy with a samurai sword, if they're going to apply the taser, if they're going to shoot him with it, they have to.
That's a job for the armed response unit.
But Rich, what I'm trying to do is just understand what the hell went on in this police officer's mind, because I can't understand it. If I was a police officer armed with a taser, and I thought that this guy had a sword, I need to get within 10 feet of the guy to shoot him. Anyway, at that point, you've got to say, well, hang on, that's a walking stick or it's a cane for a blind man.
It's a terrible and almost incomprehensible mistake. But what we've done is we've made this relatively untrained and unexperienced officer, probably, we've put him in a position where he's had to make this decision rather than relying on the armed response unit, who could have turned up both with conventional firearms and taser as a less lethal alternative.
Could take 20 minutes, though, Richard. Could take 20 minutes for the Volvo to get there with the machine guns and the heckler and gloshers.
But that's what I think should have happened. So that this guy shouldn't have been tackled until that point. And we need and what we need to do is where the police are being reorganised. We need to say, no, we don't want more frontline police armed with taser. We want the experts, the specialist units to be there and to be available. And where people are suggesting cutting them, regionalising them, we need to actually know that this is something that we need these guys on call.
Can I thank you so much for your time? Really appreciate it, Richard.
Okay, thank you.
All the very best. Richard Taylor there, campaigning against giving tasers to frontline police officers as a matter of course who don't have firearms training. You see, that's the distinction that Richard is drawing here. If you have firearms training, you have a taser. Maybe that's the first line of defence. The taser, if it's ineffective, then you rely on your pistol. 08453 00 99.